It's good to be back, and I wanted to spend a little bit of time in this segment talking about toxic sales organizations. Now, no leader wants their organization to be toxic, but the fact still remains that there are some leading indicators that lets you know whether you're walking towards a toxic culture within your organization. The reason I decided to talk about this is on account of the great resignation, war for talent. Everybody is losing good talent. And therefore, how can we be aware of a simple checklist that lets us know whether we are breeding a culture of toxicity that is forcing some of our best performers to leave? So I'm going to talk about 5 pointers that helps you understand whether these are predictors of a toxic culture, and you can then decide whether some of these are prevalent in your organization, and if so, what you could do about it. The first element of a toxic culture is where your organization is too operationally focused, which means a lot of time is spent on the data and the detail. It is all about execution and not enough on strategy. It is all about your numbers, it is not about your competition's numbers. It is all about a lot of meetings which are focused on getting the numbers moving, not necessarily on making a mark in the market. So, operationally focused. The second element is slightly related, which is inwardly focused. And in fact, the very way you could go ahead and check this out is to get to your seller on the field and ask them to open up their calendar and find out what proportion of their time are they spending with customers. For field sellers, if it is less than 80%, or frontline sales managers, if it's less than 60%, then possibly you have a culture where it's more internal and incestual rather than external and experiential. The third element that tells you whether you have a toxic culture or not is where you find leaders surrounded by mirrors. What I mean by that is that there is not enough diversity in the leadership team, and there are a lot more people who say yes rather than challenge with a no. So, that is something you will have to be careful about, whether you have a number of people who are mirroring the leader in charge. It could be from a behavioral standpoint, it could be from a conflict orientation standpoint, it could be from a cultural viewpoint, whatever it is. Think about whether there is enough diversity that involves a lot more productive conflict. The fourth element, and this is quite obvious, is when you find that there are some compliance issues within the organization. So, is there some elements of compliance that are getting compromised on? And are you seeing an increasing trend of lack of compliance? That's something you will have to think about. And the last and the most important element is all about psychological safety. Do you hear the bad news often? Do people have the courage to speak out and challenge leaders? Is there a culture where everybody feels heard? Is there a culture where there is outside in feedback that comes in? Is there a culture where we are listening to our partners in the ecosystem? Those are all elements that you need to think about to say, hey, is there enough psychological safety that lets us hear what truly is happening rather than what we want to hear? So, when you think about your sales organization, try indexing your sales on these 5 parameters of looking at too operationally focused, too inward looking, too much surrounded by mirrors, to look at, hey, what are the levels of compliance issues? And finally, around psychological safety. If you have three or more which are positive, be a little worried so that you can now put into action a plan that can help you become far less toxic, far more customer focused, and retain your best talent. Good luck.